Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey. I'm Josh.
And I'm Erin.
And today we're talking about the secondary whiskey market.
What's up with it?
What even is it and why does it matter?
Welcome back to the channel, bringing real-world content to the real-world whiskey consumer.
Today we're talking about the secondary whiskey market. But first, Erin, how are you doing? And what are you drinking?
I'm good. I'm drinking some water because we're filming a lot of videos back-to-back and I need a break.
Yep. We want to bring you guys uninterrupted content week after week. So we are batching the front end of this to build up a backlog of content so that we don't miss a week.
Yes, and my liver needs a little break.
Yeah. Very valid. So responsible drinking is very important.
Very important. So How are you? What are you drinking? Obviously, something very important.
Nothing yet. I'm going to decide that here in a second,
Okay.
But I'm doing well. We've been very busy building the groundwork for this channel. It's a lot of work that goes into an endeavor like this. And so for the past month or so, I've been completely off of my workout regimen, and I'm doing great because I feel great today. I finally got back to working out after a month off. I got back on the bike. I'm a cyclist, so that's my primary mode of exercise.
Yeah.
And I definitely am down a little bit on my fitness, but I set a new lifetime 30-second power personal record today.
You didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah, you should.
A lot of that's just due to being off the bike for a while and having some fatigue shed off. But it's all been worth it because we've been building this channel for you guys to be able to watch, and we've been having a heck of a lot of fun shooting it. So as far as what I'm drinking.
Yeah, what do you want to drink? I mean, we have a few options here.
Well, we're talking about the bourbon secondary market today and the whiskey secondary market in general, not so much just bourbon, because there's other things other than bourbon in the secondary market. But bourbon seems to be kind of the hottest commodity in whiskey right now. So I think I am going to get into this Good Times Honey. So this is a distilled in Indiana. It is a MGP distillery.
What's MGP mean?
MGP is a non-Kentucky distillery.
Okay.
It's a distillery that a lot of companies source bourbon through.
Okay.
So, and even rye as well. Like Bullet sources their rye from MGP. Smoke Wagon sources their bourbon from MGP. Okay. Tons of companies out there that people think are their own companies actually source their liquid from MGP. So this is a bottle that I got. Good Times is a bottle that trades a lot on the secondary market, and it seems very fitting for our topic today. Okay. So I'm gonna have a little splash of this. I've opened it so that we could partake, but I have yet to try it.
So I have a very potentially dumb question for you.
Yeah.
So Good Times Honey, that the only other alcohol I've ever heard of with a honey on the back end is Jack Daniel's honey.
A little bit different.
Okay.
A little bit different, just a smidge.
Okay.
Yeah. You have actually had Good Times Honey before.
Okay, I have.
And you've had Belle Meade Honey, and you've had Jack Daniel's Honey.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You made me do a blind.
Thanks to a good friend of mine, Jared Wayburn of the Nashville Bourbon Social Club, a local group here, gave me a blind flight of honey finished whiskeys, and that blind flight consisted of Jack Daniel's Honey,
that's right,
Belle Meade Honey, which on the secondary market trades for $700 a bottle, and Good Times Honey, which trades on the secondary market for about $150 a bottle. So I felt
is Jack Daniel's on the secondary?
Jack Daniel's Honey is not on the secondary market.
Okay.
But you've had all three of these. You actually said you liked the Belle Meade Honey best.
Okay. I don't remember.
You said you thought I would like the Good Times Honey best because it had a little bit more oomph. It's a barrel strength offering. I think this particular batch, this is the Queen Bee Welcome to the Hive, if the camera will focus on that. But it comes with its little tater sticker. It's got its wax top. These are all secondary market things.
Okay.
But yeah, Good Times Honey, it's bourbon from MGP, finished in honey barrels. So they take the bourbon out of the oak barrels, they put it in honey barrels for a little bit of time, This particular offering is 116 proof, and this is bottle number 92 out of, it doesn't say. So yeah, limited rare release, which
Okay.
are all words that make secondary value go up.
So is this something that could be found in a store, or it's only found on what this secondary market is?
So I thought that's why it might be the most applicable pour, because you're not going to go to any store and find Good Times.
So how do they, like, the company,
Mm-hmm.
where do they sell to?
So Good Times is a company that has money. They take that money to MGP. They buy barrels, and then they finish those in honey barrels, or they finish them in a range of other barrels. They do a lot of finished products at Good Times with MGP whiskey.
So the whiskey is from MGP, and then they finish it however they want.
Right.
And then they market it as whatever. Okay,
Yep.
got it.
There's a Good Times cherry. There's a Good Times orange. There's a lot of different stuff.
Okay.
And the way you find this is through a lot of secondary groups. I bought this bottle from a friend who happened to get a few bottles of it in, and he spared one for me at his cost,
Gotcha.
which is cost. But this is an $85 bottle
Okay.
that will go for nearly double that on the secondary market.
Wow. So what even is a secondary market? Is it online? Is it through
Yes.
connections?
So it's like,
or-
you can think of it like the bourbon black market or the whiskey black market.
That sounds sketchy.
Well, it's illegal.
Oh.
Technically.
Okay.
Technically.
All right. This video will get demonetized.
We're not monetized anyway,
That's
so
true.
we don't have any worries about
That's
that.
true. I guess it doesn't matter.
Let's get this one in early. But I picked these bottles to set out for this video specifically because of what they go for on the secondary market. These products over here and the Michter's here, these are all products that you could buy in a store. They have distribution to some level. However, it's difficult to get your hands on them. I was fortunate enough over the past year or so in raffles, in lotteries, and in just generally frequenting stores who get some of these products in, and being a good customer, I was able to purchase all these products at MSRP. But that's not the case for everybody. If you don't have a big market where you live, if your stores don't have a lot of volume coming through, they might not get allocated some of these products. This is a $130 bottle that goes for $220 on secondary. This is an $85 bottle that goes for $150-$60 on secondary. This is a $70 bottle that goes for $150 to $200 on secondary. A Midwinter's Night Dram, which is a $90 to $100 bottle that goes for $150 on secondary. Old Fitzgerald Bottle and Bond, this particular one is 14 years. That's a $130 to $180 bottle that goes for close to $400 on secondary.
Oh, wow.
And George T. Stagg here is probably the worst, one of the worst perpetrators, Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. This is a $100 bottle of whiskey that, because of the hype around whiskey in general and bourbon in general, is going for $600 or $650 on the secondary market.
What about these makes them so, on the secondary, these two in particular, so insanely expensive?
That's a good question. Because it's just good whiskey. Like, it's good whiskey, but it's not.
But are these not good whiskey?
They are.
Okay.
And Four Roses Single Barrel's good whiskey, and Evan Williams Bottle and Bond for $17 a bottle is good whiskey.
Okay.
And Buffalo Trace is good whiskey, which goes crazy on, like, any Buffalo Trace product on the secondary market goes crazy. It doesn't matter the price point. It seems to be based around rarity, around exclusivity, and people really go nuts.
Supply and demand, people.
I mean, you know, it's hard for me to hate it I'm a little bit of a capitalistic pig in that way, in that I think that supply and demand should work itself out. And so if the market bears paying $600 for a George T. Stagg, then so be it. With that said, that's a lot of money to pay for whiskey. And
It's a lot of money to pay in general for anything.
I've had a lot of whiskey, and I don't think I would pay $600 for any whiskey for a bottle. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me when there's so many good things out there for $50 or $30 or $80. You know, there's a lot of different things you can spend your money on. And just because you can't get your hands on a George T. Stagg doesn't mean you need to go out and spend $600 on the secondaries. Let's say you wanted to find any one of these bottles in the secondary market and you're willing to pay the inflated prices that come along with them.
Okay.
What you've got to do that is you have to find the secondary market in your local area or a national secondary market. And because of the illegal nature of the secondary market, these things come and go a lot. So
okay, so they're ever changing.
They are.
Okay.
Facebook was a big hub for the secondary market for a long time. The powers that be at Facebook have really begun cracking down on a lot of things related to reselling of alcohol without a license.
Gotcha.
And it makes sense. Like, there's a lot of reasons why those measures are in place.
Mm-hmm. So this isn't something you're gonna go like find on eBay.
No,
that's not a secondary market.
No, it would be shut down right away.
Gotcha.
It's illegal. So those listings don't exist.
So the only way to find it is to really just do like a search.
You can leverage local connections. If you talk to other bourbon fans, other whiskey fans in your area, they may know how to access the local secondary market. And I personally, out of an abundance of caution, I really try to just stick to my local secondary market. And I don't even like to shop on the secondary market, because when you're shopping on the secondary market, it's almost always because you can't get something in stores. Therefore, on the secondary market, things are marked up. And I have a difficult time wanting to pay more than what something is worth for that item just to experience it.
Especially when it's meant to be consumed. Like,
right.
It's not necessarily something you're spending an inflated price on as an investment that will gain you money. It's meant to be consumed. I know not everyone consumes their whiskey. They buy it and then they never open it. But then also, what's that doing for you?
Well, some people would, for instance, buy a 2020 George T. Stagg if they had an opportunity at retail, and they would hold on to it for a while. Maybe they would turn around and flip it and make $500 like that. Or maybe they hang on to it and in 10 years they resell it. And because it hasn't been produced in 10 years, that particular release, and it gets good reviews, and then they turn around and sell it for $2,000. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because over the course of those 5 or 10 years that you're hanging on to it, where else could your money have gone? Like, the return on investment really isn't all that big. And for some people, I get it. It's like a game, or it's fun. It's like a way for them to enjoy the hobby. They enjoy that. And once upon a time, I was like that as well. Not in whiskey, but in cars. Like, I bought and sold cars a lot.
Okay.
And
that act of the buying and the selling and getting the deal, I would guess, probably.
Yeah.
And then upselling, was what was fun for you?
It was fun.
So that can, okay, I see. That can be translated in like the secondary market whiskey buying. Okay.
I get it. Although selling cars is legal and reselling whiskey is not.
That's okay, yeah.
So there's that.
That is a little different.
But it's the same basic idea, like the wheeling and dealing part of it, the horse trading part of it. That is something that people have a lot of fun doing. If you want to find your local secondary market or a national secondary market, the only way to get that access is to ask around. And you may not get that information at first. Again, as with anything, the onus is on you to vet the information that you get. So are you getting locked up because you shopped on the secondary market or even sold on the secondary market? Probably not. But the groups are probably going to be shut down pretty quickly. It's gonna become a thing for you to try to keep up with. My personal opinion is, with so much good whiskey sitting on the shelves at stores, I have a really tough time dealing with the secondary market.
Yeah.
When we were talking about this episode idea, you asked me, when would I shop on the secondary market? And that question is a very interesting one, because I wouldn't shop on the secondary market for anything over here. Because the markup on it is just so much that I can't justify that. But let's say we're dealing with something more, not even over here, but like something like an Elijah Craig barrel proof or a Larceny barrel proof, where these products are like $50 or $60 and they get a slight markup on the secondary market to $70 or $80 or $90. By the time I factor in my own sales tax in our state, a $60 bottle is now a $66 bottle, and I got to pay gas to drive to the liquor store, and then maybe that liquor store doesn't have it, so I have to drive to another liquor store, and maybe that liquor store doesn't have it, so I have to drive to another liquor store, and then I finally get it. So it's
You're driving all over town.
So, but it's like, if
Yeah.
I'm going to go to 3 stores and waste all that time driving around to spend $66 on a bottle, or I can just go to the secondary market and pay $85 for that bottle, will I pay a $19 convenience fee to just find it immediately and go pick it up? I personally probably would.
If it's something that you like. So what if it's something you've never tried before? Would you spend a marked up amount on that just to try it?
If I want to try it, yeah.
Okay.
I would, as long as the price is what I deem to be reasonable. And as we've discussed many times, what I deem to be reasonable and what you deem to be reasonable
are
drastically different.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say just different. I would say drastically different.
They're different.
Yeah.
Not always drastically.
But I would pay $85 for the most recent release of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof if I struck out on it at my local stores that I frequent. I'll pay a slight premium for it. Okay. Now, I'm not paying $400 for this or $600 for this. I'm not paying multiple times of retail. I just can't get behind that.
Yeah.
It's not smart money, not when there's plenty of good bourbon that sits on the shelves.
Yeah, cool.
That's just my personal opinion. Your opinion may vary. There's a lot of people who deal exclusively in the secondary market, and one of our upcoming episodes is going to talk about why you should never pay over retail for whiskey, and maybe when we do, or when I do. And
I probably do too, just not maybe in this area.
In other things, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're going to discuss things that are tangential to this topic, because a lot of the craze around American whiskey, particularly bourbon and rye, it's a very important topic of conversation right now, because a lot of people are spending a lot of money on it. We feel like, as a channel focused on real world content for the real world whiskey consumer, we want to make sure we're giving you guys a real world, down to earth opinion on this matter, and not feeding into the hype, because a lot of times it's not worth it.
Well, not feeding into the hype unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Like and granted, our tastes are our taste, but if we really like something, like if I really like something, I will pay more than I necessarily would for this. Like, if I've had this, it's fine, but I wouldn't pay, more than it's worth for this. But if there's something else I really liked, I might. So it's very subjective.
It is very subjective. And that's, with something as subjective as taste, and that's all that whiskey is, it's going to be very subjective.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do here in part is, we've said this in previous episodes, we want to fight FOMO. It's fine if you really like something and you like it, but the FOMO craze, the fear of missing out on something based solely on the fact that other people want it, it's so easy to get caught up in that in this culture, in this day and age. Yep. And we feel like that's not really, we don't want to feed into that. This is why we do blind tastings. This is why we're talking about topics like this. We want to shoot you guys straight on what we think about these types of things, with a little bit of perspective from being into it for a short period of time. But I know when I first got deep into whiskey, it's very easy to get caught up in all this stuff. And you're somebody who isn't super caught up in it, and you're wondering why people are standing in lines and camping out overnight for a bottle of whiskey.
So, last question before we wrap up. If someone comes across something on a secondary market, are they able to see if it's worth buying?
Well, my personal opinion is that if you're anywhere near a city that has a local bourbon group, I would recommend getting more entrenched in that, making some connections there, being willing to be generous with what you have to share anything that you might have that other people might be interested in. I have had the opportunity to try a lot of things, and by proxy, you have had the opportunity to try a lot of things that we would have otherwise had to go to the secondary market to try, because we couldn't buy it in stores. But because of local connections, because of friendships and things like that, we've been able to trade samples of things and try a lot of stuff that we wouldn't otherwise been able to try. So that's another topic for another day.
So that's like a pre-secondary market almost. But like before you go to secondary, maybe see if you have any friends that like trade samples with.
Just try to trade samples or trade pours with friends. Like have friends over, go somewhere, try it at a bar. There's a lot of ways you can try things before you buy them without committing to paying a markup on the secondary market.
I mean, and I feel like that actually makes the hobby fun when you can enjoy it with other people.
Absolutely.
So as opposed to just getting it on a market, drinking it by yourself, or with, you and me sharing it is fun. But like if you were just by yourself drinking something you got in the secondary market, how fun is that? So to be able to enjoy things with other people is kind of part of what makes it so fun.
Yeah.
I think.
That is really what it's more about than saying you got a George T. Stagg or an Old Fitzgerald decanter series or something like that. Like that's, at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't really matter. And what does matter is the shared experiences around the whiskey in the glass. Erin, do you have other stuff this week?
I do, kind of, I think.
Okay.
Hit
us with it.
Okay, so I've recently gotten into this French television show on Netflix, which with the year we've had, I've watched a lot of Netflix, and I became very just bored with what was on there. And I found out about this French TV show. In the French, it's called 10%, which is like 10%. But on Netflix in the US, it's called Call My Agent. So it's on Netflix now currently. And it's in French, so you have to watch it with English subtitles. But it's really, really interesting. It's about a talent agency. So the agents get 10% of whatever the celebrities make. That's why it's called the 10%. And it's about the talent agency and the agents at this talent agency and their lives and how they do all these things and jump through hoops to make their clients happy. And the clients are like real French celebrities. It's pretty interesting to see, like, they take their persona and just like make it bigger. Somebody who is a very attractive French lady plays this character who like can't find a date, and like her agent has to help her find a date. And so it's just pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. And there are 4 seasons, I believe, on Netflix. I'm on season 3 currently, so by the time this airs I'll probably be finished with it. So far I'm into it. It's actually kind of made me want to learn to speak French. I took French in high school because I thought it was a very pretty language. I still think it's a very pretty language, but I mean, high school French, that was a long time ago. So
you said it's after like real French, like celebrities.
Well,
is it a reality show?
It's not a reality show. It's not modeled after real French celebrities.
I've not watched it, by the way.
But real celebrities are acting in it.
Interesting.
As like the characters.
Real actors?
Real.
Or just
real actors.
Okay.
Real actors are acting in it as the actors that these agents are representing. So, and it's cool because the agency, like the very first episode, it's not a spoiler alert really, like the owner of the agency dies suddenly. So these 4 agents are left with trying to hold this agency together when the founder suddenly just dies, and they don't know, they're trying to keep their contacts and their clients, and then a new owner comes in. Like, it's pretty interesting. It's unlike anything I've seen on American television, and I've watched a lot of American television.
Is it funny? Is it interesting? Is it drama?
I think it's classified as a comedy.
Okay.
But I was telling someone the other day, it's not a sitcom. So if you're thinking like laugh track sort of deal, it's not going to be that. It's a comedy. It is funny, but it's not just a slapstick sitcom. Might be a dramedy, maybe. I don't know. Drama and comedy. I've really been into that, and I can't, like, any spare time I have, I'd like to watch it, but I have to actually watch it because I have to read the subtitles, so I can't have it on in the background.
Do you feel smarter watching a show that has subtitles? You feel better than the rest of us?
No.
Are you sure?
I feel more stupid because I don't know what they're saying.
Okay, that's
and
fair.
It makes me want to learn the language that they're speaking, so I know what they're saying without having to read the subtitles. So no, it actually does the opposite.
Okay, that's fair.
So do you have any other stuff?
I do. Let's stay in the Netflix wheelhouse.
Okay.
Pretty much everybody has Netflix, or if you don't, you're a freeloader that has someone else's password.
Someone else's Netflix, Been there, done that.
Yep. We pay for our own Netflix, but do not ask us about our HBO Max subscription. We're not going to talk about that. I am going to stay in the Netflix wheelhouse, and this is going to be a two-part other stuff, okay? We logged on to Netflix recently, and we saw the 2020 Netflix Oscars.
2020.
Was it? Okay. Uh-huh. Whatever it was. It looked cool. It looked like, oh, here's a lot of stuff you would want to watch, okay? I thought for sure these are the Oscars. They have to be good, right? I'm going to tell you the second movie I watched was called The Midnight Sky with George Clooney. You know, just putting all my cards on the table. I have a big George Clooney man crush.
I mean, who doesn't?
I mean, especially, let's rewind the tape 10 years.
Ocean's 11?
10 years younger Clooney, like, sign me up.
Was that Ocean's 11 Clooney?
Around then, yeah. Like, I mean, basically
yeah.
from like 2000 to the early 2010s. Like, give me all the Clooney I can get. I'm a big Clooney fan. And this one, he not only starred in, but he directed. And it starts off so good. It's almost like this post-apocalyptic dystopian existence, only man on Earth scenario. Okay. It really quickly lays out the groundwork of what's going on. There's been this event that they don't say what is, and they never do. Spoiler alert.
Oh, they don't?
They never do. They don't tell you what happened. But he's trying to contact these people who are on a space mission that are returning. This is all in the synopsis, so I'm not giving away anything here. I'm telling you, like, the first 20 minutes, the visuals, the director of photography deserves an award for the first 20 minutes. Things go downhill. Spoiler alert.
Aww.
But the first 20 minutes of it is visually spectacular, and there's a lot of things that seem to be set up to be the foundation for an amazing movie. I'm going to tell you right now that it's a 2-hour movie, and you should just save your time. Like, don't go down the road. Don't get roped in. I kept waiting, and I kept waiting, and I kept waiting.
Aww.
There was no payoff.
That's disappointing.
There was no connection.
I hate it when that happens.
You can't say that it's the Oscars and be that bad. But Hillbilly Elegy. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Amy Adams is the female lead.
Love her.
And I would say that her performance is different but somewhat parallel to Charlize Theron in Monster. If you ever saw that.
I never saw Monster, but I heard she was amazing in that.
Yeah. So her performance is amazing in this. Glenn Close is her mom. Glenn Close is an icon.
Icon.
The main male lead, Amy Adams' son. I don't know his name. He may have been in stuff. I don't watch a ton of stuff, so that could just be ignorance on my part. He does a great job as well. Those are kind of the three main characters of the movie, and then there's a lot of other stuff that goes on. It seems to start out as this tale. Oh, Ron Howard directed it. Ron Howard, national treasure. Opie from the Andy Griffith Show, which I grew up watching.
Same.
Raised by my grandmother.
Not raised by my grandmother, but I also watched it.
Yeah. So Ron Howard here, Opie from Andy Griffith, is telling a tale of a boy who grew up, who was from like Appalachian country in Kentucky, like just absolute hill people, hillbilly elegy. He does such a good job of starting this tale off, and you think it's going to be like this really sweet, nostalgic tale. And I had a lot of nostalgic stuff going on from watching it, of being like a kid growing up in Middle Tennessee, kind of in the country. And then things take a lot of twists and turns, and it becomes like this really gritty, like drama full of like grit and suspense and twists and turns and difficult to watch scenes. It starts out in Kentucky. They move to Ohio. But even though they moved to Ohio, that the curses and the plagues that haunt them from not dealing with their own mess, and the ripple effects of poor decisions on people's parts, particularly adults' parts.
That's like a life lesson right there.
It is. It is very much a cautionary tale. It's fascinating to watch. It's hard to watch.
Is this the one you told me I need to watch?
I said you should watch it. You may not like it, but you should watch it.
Okay.
I like movies like that really get gritty and can really be difficult to watch, difficult scenes and difficult scenarios. you tend to prefer things that are a little bit more on the like happy, upbeat front.
I do, but if I know what I'm getting into, then I can like calibrate.
Yeah.
So I think I watch a lot of movies or television shows to be entertained and to kind of like let my brain check out for a minute.
Yeah.
But if I know like, oh, this is a gripping story, or it's got like a plot, like something to tell you, a lesson to learn, like I can, if I can calibrate for that, then I will.
Yeah.
So knowing that ahead of time is always good for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ron Howard. It's great storytelling. There's a lot of scenes in there that are like I said, difficult to watch. They hit close to home for me, just given my own personal background in my own life and seeing things happen with family members. And like, it's just a fascinating tale, and it is told beautifully. It's wrapped up beautifully. It's definitely worth a watch. I mean, I'd give it 2 thumbs up.
Okay.
I mean, that's our metric system here.
2
I'd
thumbs
give
up.
it 2 thumbs up.
So if we can,
The Midnight
if we're
Sky,
able to
thumbs
link
down.
if we're able to link it in the description below, we will.
Yeah.
Depending on what we're able to do.
Yeah. But The Midnight Sky, thumbs down based on our metrics. 0 of 10 would not recommend. Hillbilly Elegy, I'm giving that 2 thumbs up. Definitely watch that. It is a great watch.
All right.
Take us out of here.
Well, thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. And I know this video has probably been one of our longer ones, but we hope you enjoy it. And if you did, hit that subscribe button and the like button, both of them at the same time, maybe, if you can.
Can you do that?
I don't think so. You have to do one then the other.
What if you had 2 mice?
2 mouses?
No, mice. Can't say mouses. You just talked about a French show and you're saying mouses?
I know. I need to learn another language. I obviously don't know English well. Also, comment. I mean, let us know. If you've seen Hillbilly Elegy, what do you think about it? Should I watch it? I mean, I probably will. If you've seen the George Clooney movie.
If you've seen The Midnight Sky and you liked it, leave us a comment below about what actually is wrong with you. Yeah.
Or it's that.
Yeah. You're from a different planet.
And if you haven't seen Call My Agent on Netflix, as it's called here in America, and you're interested in any television shows from other countries, I would highly recommend that. It's pretty entertaining. We really appreciate you watching, and cheers.
Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.